Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Just a minute. What? Sorry about that. They take their moments, don't they? Hi guys, how are we all doing? Welcome along to CLB, mental health and well-being. It's our usual Thursday night chat, where we're basically just going to sit and have a little conversation. And today it's going to be about mental health stigma. Okay, so if you've ever suffered from a mental illness, you will have experienced stigma of some description. So we're going to look at that tonight. We're going to look at how it affects you, how it can make things worse, where stigmas come from, what sort of stigmas are about, and also how we can combat stigma and what we can do together collectively and as individuals to fight that sort of, it's a discrimination. We'll fight the mental health discrimination, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. If you guys can do me a favor, it's the usual thing, just give the stream a share, get some people watching, especially with something as important as the stigma of mental health. I think it's key that we get out to as many people as possible, and that's not necessarily, normally I say people who we can help. The people who we need to help tonight with this sort of conversation, they probably don't even know they need help. If they're stigmatizing people due to mental health, then just get it shared. That's what I recommend anyway. I think the more people we reach, the more likely we are to help this battle. Pop in the comments if you're here. Hi Stacey, I can see you're on. If you're in here, just say hi, and we're basically going to open up a conversation tonight. So I want to know if you're willing to share some examples of discrimination or stigma that you have been on the receiving end of. So yeah, it really is a conversation for all of us to have. It's not just for me to waffle on. It is for everyone. Hi Gemma, how are you? Good to see you tuned in. Yeah, so let's share some experience. At any point in the evening, just share your thoughts or a scenario that you've been through where mental health has made the situation harder or changed someone's reaction to the situation. And it's not always obvious when that's occurred. But if you think it might have done, share it with me. Let me know. It'd be good to see. So I've done a little bit of research. Part of the research I did for this was actually as part of the mental health awareness course that us admins are doing at the moment. I know I bleat on about it, but I really, really want to kind of shout out about it because it's such a good course that we're doing. It's a level 2 awareness in mental health, and one of the segments actually tackled the stigma thing. And so we are going to look at a little bit of history tonight, because we are not in the worst place or the worst time. Okay. It might feel it sometimes, but we're genuinely not. We live in the most liberal society when it comes to mental health issues that has ever been. Genuinely, that has ever been. Mental health is more talked about, researched, understood by more people now than ever before. You don't have to go back far, 100 years, not even that. People were essentially put into a prison for mental health problems, because it was this society had this thing where if you hide the problem from the majority, it's not a problem anymore. And so people were incarcerated in psychiatric units that were little more than prisons, just for having depression, just for having anxiety. One nervous or mental breakdown, you could be sectioned or incarcerated for the rest of your life. 100 years ago, 70 years ago even, it was still happening. And so we're not in the worst place. We're not in the worst position. People have had it worse. Our grandparents had it worse. Shell shock, as it was during the First World War, which we now know to be post-traumatic stress, was so stigmatized that it devastated lives, devastated families, because no one cared enough to research or to figure out exactly what was going on with these young men returning from war with shell shock. Yeah, that was a mental health crisis, but no one done anything about it because it's just not how our society worked at that point. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with what is stigma. All right. So a definition of stigma is the perception that a certain attribute makes a person unacceptably different from others, leading to prejudice and discrimination against them. So that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about you have something that other people don't have that makes you less of a person. That's what stigma is. It's a negative association with something. You're different. You're definitely different. We all are. And every single mental health crisis, illness, is different. But it doesn't mean you're any less of a person. In fact, I would argue it makes you a better person, more of a person, a more complete person, because if you get up every day and battle with these demons in your head with this psychological imbalance, and yet you survive each day, you're a stronger person than someone who doesn't have to do that. Okay, so that's my opinion, but this isn't what we're here to talk about, unfortunately, because if everyone thought how I thought, we wouldn't have, well, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't need to do this. You know, so we're going to look at exactly what kind of the negatives are. So Gemma says, totally agree, mate. Haven't go through it all with my sister, and there's more understanding right now. Well, this is it. It's all you can do is understand and educate yourself. I will use a prime example. This is a prime example, and I don't wish to bring my family into this. It's not something I normally do. My brother is epileptic. We know that. I'm sober for him at the minute to raise money. But my mum, when my brother was diagnosed with epilepsy, went hell for leather in making sure she understood everything about epilepsy, what she needed to do, what she could do, what the options were, what the research was, what it wasn't. And I'm not faulting her for that at all. But when I was told I had depression, that same energy didn't go into it. Because depression, until it got to crisis point, my mum now understands it a lot more, so much more, and so much better. So that is definitely not an insult towards my mum, without a doubt. She is amazing, and has supported me through all of the breakdowns, all of the crisis. But when I first at 13 got diagnosed with depression, it wasn't in my household. It wasn't seen as something that needed researching. It just wasn't. It didn't appear on the radar like that. And that doesn't mean that my mum let me down at all. She didn't. But just society at large, 20 years ago, didn't install the need in people to do their research about mental health problems. And that was 20 years ago. I think the last couple of years, things have really, really changed there. Massively changed. So I've pulled up some resources from the Mind website. Once again, if you're ever looking to research anything in regards to mental health, get on the Mind website. It's the NHS website is okay, but even that refers you to the Mind website. It is so full of information and resources and support and everything you need to know. So yeah, people felt totally isolated back then. Yeah, they did. If you had a mental health problem 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, you had no one to talk to. Your GP didn't know. When I started seeing my GP about my mental health, they didn't know what. There was this old Dutch guy, if I rightly remember, and he gave me a leaflet. I was talking about suicide. I was talking about self-harm. I was talking about being at a crisis point, and he gave me a leaflet. That was my GP. We're not in that world anymore, so let's not dwell too much on that, because it's, you know, I don't think we need to worry about what happened in the past. All we need to know is where we're at today. Obviously, having a knowledge of the past is important, but let's talk about where we're at today and what we can do to move forward. That's what I think. So not everyone, and this is where stigma comes from, not everyone understands. Your illness cannot be seen. If my arm fell off, I think everyone could kind of relate. Oh, it's going to be awkward. You ain't got one of them. Do you know what I mean? That's what you can do with just one arm. People can empathize. They can put themselves in your shoes. When it comes to a mental health issue and you're trying to describe it, it's very difficult, because then it's not a linear kind of, the problems that would occur if my arm fell off would be quite black and white, quite cut and dry. You wouldn't be able to do this. You would be able to do that. And then, do you know what I mean? I suppose there is even a stigma around that sort of thing, but the stigma is less. But yeah, so whereas what's going on in my head, people don't instantly look at me and go, well, you must be struggling with all that going on, because they don't know. They generally don't know. So not everyone understands mental health problems. And that is the first point at which stigma can begin, is when people don't get it. That's where discrimination comes from, is when people don't understand. That does not mean it's a permanent thing. It can be changed and it can be involved. And that is through education and, in my opinion, just shouting as loud as you can all the time about mental health. That's what I want to do. That's all we need to do. Is if all of us just keep talking about mental health, it means that no one can pretend it's not there. They have to understand it, because people are talking about it. And if everyone is talking about it, those people that aren't talking about it will be the odd ones out. And they will join the crowd because they don't want to be the odd ones out. If you're someone who stigmatizes, if you're someone who discriminates, you feel safety in numbers. So as soon as those numbers start dwindling and everyone else is on the train of understanding, and you're stood on the platform of misinformation and ignorance, you're going to jump on that train as soon as you can. So we'll get onto that a little bit later about what we can do. But that's my opinion, is the fact that just keep making a noise, ladies and gentlemen. Bang those pots and pans of depression and anxiety as loud as you can. And people will get it in the end. So the other problem we have is misinformation. A lot of people think they know what they're talking about, but don't. Lived experiences are the best experiences for sharing. They're not always the best for treating. You can't necessarily treat someone's mental health crisis with yours because everyone's different. But lived experience gives you, when someone approaches me and says I'm having a hard time, I never say, I understand. Because I probably don't. Their hard time will be very different to my hard time. I say, I get it. I get that you're having a hard time, because I do. I know what that's like. I'll never say I understand anyone else's brain, because I barely understand my own. But I can still be there for someone because I get that they're having a hard time. And I'm happy to talk about their hard time and see if I can understand it as best I can. But misinformation. So people who think they know, but they don't know because they've read an article. And we'll try and, these are the sort of people who will give you advice. And unsolicited advice is the most frustrating thing. And any of you that received it will know when someone's trying to tell you what you need to do and you're going, well, I know that's what I'm supposed to do. But the fact is, I can't do that. That's why I'm in this situation. Anyone who knows me knows that I don't take advice well, especially on my mental health. Probably because I think I know better. Probably don't. But I do struggle with that element of it, because there's so many cycles that I've been through time and time again that I kind of go, I know what I need to do. And I'm going to be in a funk for a few days now. I'm going to have a depressive episode and I'm not going to get out of it for 3 or 4 days. But after that, I know I'll be fine. So I'm just going to go through it. And that's my treatment. That's the way I deal with things. And I'm choosing. I used to get really frustrated when people gave me advice. Now, I just let them. If that makes them, people are doing it from a place of love and a place of respect and a place of empathy. So I let them, because it probably makes them feel better. And it makes me feel better to know that they want me to be better. So all round, just because I'm not going to listen to the advice, I still take it. I still put it. It still makes me feel better, and it makes them feel better. And so why not? If I was just to say, "Shut up, leave me alone," no one feels better after that, do they? It's not going to make anyone's day go a little bit smoother. So yeah, so people will try and give you advice, but at least those people aren't stigmatizing as much. So what are the main stigmas? It used to be, well, it kind of still is, dangerous. You've got depression. You're going to kill yourself. Or can't let you name my children. No, not if you're going to kill yourself. No, I'm not going to try and kill myself in front of your kids, am I? Christ, not a monster, but that's what it used to be like. And it still is to a certain extent. People who self-harm, those scars on your arms, you cover them up because you're ashamed. You're only ashamed because people have told you you have to be ashamed. They are battle scars. When someone gets shot, and hide their scar, look, I got shot, and show it to everyone. They're your battle scars. They're your bullet wounds. Don't hide them. I'm not going to look at them. They're just part of you. They're part of who you are. They're part of your makeup. They're your history. And people are ashamed because they think, oh, if someone sees I used to cut myself, they'll think I'm less of a person. You're not. You're not at all. If it makes you feel better to cover them up, I do understand that. I do get that. But never, ever feel like you have to. Never. Do you know what? I almost feel an affinity with people who, if I see people, there's two things. If I see people with the semicolon tattoo, I've got it on my finger and on my neck, or if I see people with self-harm scars, I guess this is discrimination itself, but I feel an affiliation with them because I get it. And it's almost a relief for me to know that I'm speaking with someone who would get it. If I said, I've got depression, they go, I've got anxiety. We'd show each other our club pass. But no, do you know what I mean? It just like, it relieves me of that cloak. Well, it's not a cloak I wear anymore. I just pretty much walk around with a placard saying I've got depression. I'm not depressed, I've got depression. And I sing it loud and I sing it proud. genuinely do. I don't hide it from anyone because it's something that I've lived with for long enough. Why the hell should I keep that a secret? Do you know what I mean? It's not anyone's place to tell me to do so. So you're dangerous if you've got mental health problems. That's what people think. I did have a couple of other examples. Bong bottom. So you must be crazy. I hate that. If you've got bipolar and you're manic, so you're hyped and you're on a positive, and do you know what I mean? You're buzzing and you're really hyped up. Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy. No, you're not crazy. That word doesn't. I don't even know what that word means. I'm going to look it up. Let's look it up. Dictionary definition of crazy. Because I'm pretty sure it's got absolutely sod all. Mad, especially as manifested in wild or aggressive behaviour. So it's behavioural. It's nothing to do with mental health. It's a behaviour. Crazy is a description of your behaviour. And someone who's not suffering from mental health issues can be crazy in that same description. If someone's trying to fight you, they're crazy. You know, that word should just be banned from any conversation surrounding mental health. We covered dangerous. Mental illness is self-inflicted. This is a big one. So people say that, that if you suffer from mental health, it's because of something you've done. You've caused it. I mean, I had this problem when I kind of had my breakdowns, my behaviours, the drinking and etc. Led to a worsening of my mental health. So when I went to see the doctor, they pretty much said, well, you're not suffering from poor mental health. Your mental health is suffering as a byproduct of what you're doing. I was like, well, no, my mental health declined. Then I went on to those behaviours, which in turn became a cycle. But I had no way of proving that. They had made up their mind that I was not mentally ill. I was just mentally ill as a result of my behaviour. And so, yeah, mental illness is not self-inflicted in that way. You have very little control. Once you're mentally ill, you actually you start to learn ways of controlling. You find methods. You find ways of treating your thoughts. So you actually end up with more control, but you have to constantly be kind of aware and alert on top. If you've never suffered from mental illness and you're just happily skipping through your life, and then all of a sudden something comes loose, you know, your body isn't producing enough of the right chemicals or too much of another chemical, all of a sudden, gone. And you have no control over that. I've seen people, it happen to people who you never ever expected to suffer from mental health crisis, all of a sudden having a breakdown. They've done nothing to deserve that. They've done nothing to cause that. Yes, there's certain elements of your life that you can manipulate and you can work on in order to improve your mental health. But you can't give yourself depression. You can't give yourself anxiety. You can make yourself anxious, but you cannot give yourself an anxiety disorder. Bipolar, borderline personality disorder, eating disorders, all of that. It's not self-inflicted. You haven't caused it. People with mental illness are different. Well, we've covered that. Yeah, they are. You're different. I'm different. Everyone's different, just different in different ways. So yeah, society says that we're different, that we need to be fixed, that we're unpredictable. Everyone's unpredictable. Everyone's different. Everyone can be dangerous. Everyone can be scary. No one's normal. Normal is not a thing that exists anymore. And I love that normal doesn't exist anymore. I don't want to be normal. I want to be part of a normal group. I want to be different. I want to stand out from the crowd. Or if you want to stand in with the crowd, stand in with the crowd of different people. You know, be different as part of a group of different. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Anyway, just take this opportunity in case you've just tuned in. We're talking about stigma, mental health stigma in particular, and how it affects our lives. If you want to share anything in the chat, feel free to share experience. I want to know what you guys have faced, how you overcame it, and what you've done to kind of combat stigma, be it in your workplace, in your local communities. Let me know. Get in touch. Let me know. Be really interested to know. And I did have one more that I was going to mention there. It's all in your head. That stigma. Yeah, it's actually all in my head. It's the brain and the wiring of the brain and the electrical processes and the hormones, and it is in the brain. Yeah, it's all in my mind. Doesn't make it any less than that arm that's fallen off, or that irritable bowel syndrome you've got, or your acne. It's no different. It's just inside my head rather than on the outside of my flesh. You know, that, yes, it is all genuinely all in my head, but doesn't make it any less, doesn't make it any different. Doesn't mean I can fix it, and it doesn't mean I want to fix it. In some ways, you know, I'm quite happy with some of my quirks, some of my differences that have been caused by my mental illness. So I'm okay with it, thanks. Okay, so they're your common types of discrimination. One of the key areas or groups or subcategories of people who have been discriminated against is young men. I'm one of them. But I've ever been, other than those couple examples there, I don't think I've ever been discriminated against because of my mental health, but I haven't always been honest about my mental health. So maybe I've just avoided discrimination, avoided the stigma. I don't know. Actually, no, I'll tell a lie. I did. I once had a mental breakdown at work for a retailer I worked for, and they took me to disciplinary for it. I had to drive to Chelmsford and go to a disciplinary hearing with my regional director because I had a mental breakdown at work and left the keys with someone who was a key holder, but wasn't signed to have the keys. But I was having a mental breakdown. I wasn't thinking straight. I then put a week later on my Facebook, does anyone fancy meeting up for a coffee? Because I was then getting ready to go back to work. So I thought I need to get out and socialise. I need to see someone, talk to someone, because I pretty much laid on my sofa in the dark for 3 or 4 days. So I put that up. And when I got back to work, they're like, oh, so you're just out drinking coffee with people now, eh? Thought you're supposed to be ill. Yeah, I was ill. That's part of me getting better. So yeah, that's a stigma, you know, that if you're mentally ill, you must be really ill. You can't do things like socialise. I don't know. So that tastes awful. Some lemonade tea thing. I'm drinking that again. So young men. There's a common tendency. Suicide rates in young men are horrendous. I haven't actually got the info up. So let's have a little look. Let's get it up. Suicide rates in young men. What I love at the moment is I'm doing a lot of work with mental health, doing the course, doing the Facebook newsfeed and Google suggestions and stuff. It's constantly kind of a new health, and it's brilliant. I feel so much more educated, and that's the thing I'd urge you all to do is educate yourselves. Even if you suffer from mental health and you don't believe that you've got any stigma attached to it, the more you know, the more you learn, the more powerful you are, the more strength you've got. Genuinely, if you research and learn, knowledge is power. And it sounds cheesy, it sounds cliche, but it genuinely is. Knowledge is power. So suicide rates in young men. Okay, so doesn't actually say, doesn't have a specific one for young men on the Samaritans website. Men aged 45 to 49 still have the highest rates of suicide. No, I haven't got anything on Samaritan's website specifically for young men. Let's have a little look. So yeah, basically, Marie says, I feel sorry for men who go through mental health. They deserve to be listened to instead of shrugged off. And this is the thing, it's that man up, isn't it? Man up. Just man up. Get on with it. Come on, I'm supposed to be a tough man. No, just have a cry. Never talk. I cry an unnatural amount for a man of 34 years, 33 years. Of 30-something years old. Genuinely, just, yeah, I've many films, I can pull a lot of films, but I'm very comfortable having a good cry. And sometimes I feel relieved afterwards, you know what I mean, getting out. But yeah, groups of young men especially, I think it is slowly changing, but it used to very much mean you didn't talk to your mates about your mental health because it was all about, you know, the birds and go for a point and all of that. And it's just, it doesn't need to be like that. There we go. The UK male suicide rate of 17.2 deaths per 100,000. Although it says here suicide rates in young women, it surprises me because you'd think young women, I don't know, young women seem to share their problems a lot better than young men. But yeah, so there is this stigma around young men being lads and not talking about mental health. And like I say, this is the only thing you need to do. You just need to talk. You need to open up that conversation. So if you've got a son who's a young man, you know, 18 to 30, speak to him about mental health. Just say, have you ever experienced problems with mental health? And then we'll go, yeah, I have actually. And you might have never known about it. Open up that conversation and talk to brothers, uncles, nephews, sons, I mean, daughters, nieces, aunties, whatever as well. Yeah, definitely. Literally, just next time you're with your family, which obviously at the moment we're not, just open up that conversation. Just, have you ever suffered from mental illness or poor mental health? Or have you ever struggled with anything? You know, open up that conversation. You could actually save their life by doing so without even realising. Women expect men years ago to be the man of the house, but now life has changed. There are so many getting hold. And this is the thing, like, society has changed so much. You know, men used to have to be the man of the house, go out and earn the money, fix everything in the house, be a dad, be the breadwinner, and now it's changing. The balance is shifting, and that's a good thing. You know, and there's no longer that expectation for men to do that, but there is still society still expects a lot of a young man to, you know, settle down, have a family, have kids, get married, have a job, do this, do that, do the other. And that expectation, is that pressure that actually causes this crisis. So what we need to do is start speaking out about the crisis and about the behaviours that are causing it. There's two ways of doing it. They've got to want to talk. Yes, I think everyone wants to talk. It's just people, given the opportunity, everyone would want to talk. It's just they're not given the opportunity, or they're not given the society where it's safe to talk because of this stigma, because of this discrimination. People feel like they're not allowed to talk or not able to talk. Pretty sure no one would want to go through a mental health crisis on their own, but if they speak up about it, they're gonna lose friends, lose family, lose respect. And that's a big thing, losing respect. You know, people want respect. They crave other people's adoration and other people to look up to them. The moment you say I'm weak, and that's essentially what you're going to be doing, you're going to be going, I'm weak with this particular element of my life. I'm weak. I'm struggling. You're demasculated to a certain extent. So yeah, that's that kind of section kind of ticked off. So the problem with this form of discrimination is, with a lot of discriminations, the discrimination doesn't make the situation worse. If you see what I mean, it doesn't compound the issue at heart. If you discriminate someone because they're of a different race, yes, you're going to upset them. Yes, you're going to cause offense, but you're not going to make their situation worse. Do you know what I mean? Let me give you the example. If you discriminate someone with mental health, They will take that discrimination and they will overthink about it. Analogy that 𝘸𝘪𝘁𝗹𝗵 made the other day. He's going to take any compliments you give him, he's going to take, pop in his mouth and spit them back out. If you give him an insult or something negative, he's going to take it, he's going to chew it all up, and he's going to swallow it, and it's going to live inside him. So that's the problem with discriminating people against, or discriminate against people due to their mental health, is you are making their mental health worse. You are compounding that issue, that problem. People with mental health issues are often overthinkers. Massively vivid imaginations, wild, crazy, I shouldn't use that word, wild thoughts, processing at a rate of knots. And if you throw another thought in that mix, you just make things worse. I read a statement here that says, being told I'm lazy, not interested, or antisocial is sometimes more draining than anxiety itself. And it makes you more anxious, and it puts you into a negative thought cycle that is almost impossible to get out of. Genuinely, if you stigmatize mental health, you are making mental health worse. You are the problem. You are a big part of the problem if you stigmatize mental health. There, I said it. Okay, so talking of people who make the problem, the media. Should we discuss that for a moment? The media, their depiction of Britney Spears' meltdown. It's doing things like that stigmatize mental health. Everyone, I've done it, refers to the time when Britney Spears shaved her head because she was having a breakdown, calling her crazy, calling her mental. That's stigmatizing. She might just wanted to shave her hair, but no, she was having a tough time. She was having a hard time, but let's just go and splash her all over the front of the newspapers, because that sort of dramatic coverage sells papers. The media don't want to help your mental health. They want to sell newspapers, and they will do whatever it takes to do so. They have so much potential influence. The media can provide a platform for people to speak. Stephen Fry, when he came out about his mental health, that was a game changer for a lot of men of his age. So it's like, oh, finally I can talk about it. I can have that conversation because someone who I look up to and respect has done so. You know, it's the same as what Youngblood, for example, has done with the LGBT community and the trans community in particular. He has massively opened up a conversation just by talking about it. Someone of high profile talking about it, and it's the same with mental health. The more high profile people talk about it, I mean, when you've got Prince Harry and people like that talking about mental health and well-being, you know, everyone is talking about it, and that's slowly eroding that stigma, eroding it away. But then you've got films, and one I reference is the Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. That guy had some serious mental health issues. He had a collective a collection of mental health issues that created his character and who he was. Yet he was glamorized, and he had a final breakdown where he committed heinous crimes, but he was celebrated for that because he's the Joker and we love him from Batman. But if you look at that as a standalone piece of work, that is the depiction of someone with serious mental health issues that go completely untreated, who eventually has a complete breakdown. And we watched that as entertainment. I mean, it's a good film. I'm not saying it wasn't. Genuinely a good film, and I enjoyed watching it. But if you look at it, that is not helping the cause for how to deal with mental health crisis. It's just not. It's scary, in fact, to think that someone could have, you know, it could run that deep in someone and no one offers help, you know. Have another sip of that. Oh, that is awful. It's like lemonade and strawberry flavored still tea. Absolutely disgusting. So yeah, the media. Yeah, the media is potentially the most powerful tool in order to defeat stigma. But at the same time, it's sensationalism, shock. That's what they want. That's what they want to do, is shock people and make money. Make money. Anyone who wants to make money off mental health doesn't care about the cause of getting rid of the stigma. Genuinely doesn't. Right. So, discrimination. If you tell a prospective employer that you've got a mental health problem, what do you think they're going to do? If you're like for like with another candidate who has similar qualifications, similar experience, and you say, oh yeah, I do suffer from depression, just thought I'd let you know, and then you go, who are they going to choose? The fact is, in this current world, you shouldn't say that, because they're going to choose the other guy. That's where we're at in these modern times. I employ people, I recruit people. If someone said that to me, I'd ask more questions, definitely ask more questions. So, okay, let's talk about your mental health then. Because it might be that that person, because they suffer from depression, is a better worker, more dedicated, because they need that time away from their mind to complete tasks at work. I do it. I go in and work for 8.5 hours a day, and that is my problems gone for 8.5 hours a day because I focus on work. I have a little switch in my brain, and it took years to craft this, but I have a little switch in my brain that just goes off. As soon as I walk in those doors, I'm a different person. I act different. Do you know what I mean? My thought processes are different. But yeah, I know some people don't. So I would dig deeper and ask questions. But if no one asks questions of you when you say something like that, you're probably not going to get that job. If you just say, I've got depression, they go, all right, you're probably not going to get that job because they're going to discriminate. Now, I'm not talking for everyone. I don't want you to think I am, but I think more often than not, that'd be the case. Marie says, I got signed off for depression. I was in after 6 months for a back to work interview. I couldn't go in, so I rang and said, can we make it another day? And they said, yes, except 5 minutes after the phone call, I received a text from a manager texting another manager, calling me a name and saying I won't be in for a meeting and to rearrange, need to say I left. Yeah, it sounds toxic. That sounds like a toxic environment. And that is so commonplace. That sort of discrimination is so commonplace. I hear it all the time. I've heard it with people I've worked with in my current job, in previous jobs. I hear it all the time. Because you're not useful to a business if your health is in such a state that you can't help them make money. This is what this is down to. It is money. It is money. If you let's go back to my arm analogy. If your arm fell off and you went, sorry, I can't make it in, do you reckon they'd have that same conversation as you saying, I'm having a really bad time with my mind? No, they go, oh, your arm's fell off, you better get yourself checked out. You know, I know I'm making it trivial, but it's genuinely a physical ailment is treated so much differently to an invisible one, you know, and that's all a lot of invisible illnesses, you know, a range of mental health issues, neurological issues such as epilepsy and other seizure-based, you know, narcolepsy and all that. They're treated with such a stigma because people can't see them, and that's such a bad thing, you know. I can't believe we live in a world that still does this, but just looking at other forms of discrimination. So if you are, let's talk about extreme mental health, psychosis, schizophrenia. Let's talk about them, because they can be terrifying to both the person suffering and those around them. It can be scary. I've been around someone with schizophrenia before, and it was, I don't want to say it's a weird experience, but it was so strange to witness them having these conversations with people they genuinely thought existed, these voices they could genuinely hear. And I was like, well, there's nothing there. And this was before I really understood it. But if you understand it, that person can still function and hold a place in society. They're still human and they can still be treated as such. You just need to understand it. And some people do need to be under care or the provision of local authority care in order to protect themselves and others. I understand that. I get that. Some people do need that. But it's not our job to say whether they do or not. We're not the trained professionals here. And unless you're watching and you are a trained professional, then by all means make that judgment call. But I have absolutely no right to say you're not safe. And no one has that right to say it about you either. At all. There might be times in your life when you're not safe for yourself or others. But no one can say to you that no one can judge you. No one should be allowed to judge you. So what we're going to talk about now, I don't really want to drink this. God, that's awful. I'm not doing it again. So what can we do? What can we do to remove the stigma? I've already highlighted a few bits and pieces, but Facebook has helped. It has helped. You see a lot of these copy and paste statuses going around. Yeah, who will be my 7 or something? You know, let's start a conversation about. But you see people sharing and pasting. You don't actually see people doing anything more. What we need to start doing is just having that conversation. I will tell anyone when asked that I have a mental illness, that I suffer from depression. Sometimes I tell people when I'm not asked. I just put it into a conversation. Sometimes it's to put people at ease when they're talking to me about their own mental health, because sometimes it does help to be speaking to someone who's maybe in the same boat to an extent, or paddling in the same sea at least. But all you guys can really do is talk. And talk and talk and talk and talk and talk until you can't talk anymore about mental health. Tell everyone that you are happy to talk to them about mental health, whether they want to talk about it or not. I have a thing of asking people if they're okay. Not as that passing, you right? Oh, yeah, you right? No, genuinely, are you okay? Take that time to ask someone in your life, are you okay? And if I say, yeah, I'm all right. No, genuinely, I'm interested. How are you? Lockdown is the prime time to do this. We're now reaching the end of what has been the toughest year of most of our lives. You need to ask everyone you know if they are okay and genuinely take an interest in their answer. Faye says, and more importantly, we need to listen. We do need to listen. We do. But we need to listen to the people who need the help. But at the same time, we need to shout in the faces of the people who don't. The people who are stigmatizing and the people who are discriminating. Make everyone accountable for their actions. If you witness discrimination based on someone's mental, like their state of mind, their mental well-being, bring it up with them. Just go, is that okay to speak to someone like that? Compare it to cancer. Okay? And that might sound harsh. But the reason I say that is cancer is a shocking word. It will really knock someone back. So when you see a discrimination where someone is talking about their mental illness and that other person either disregards them or treats them differently because of it, ask them, would you do the same if they were suffering from cancer? You'll pretty much find that most people won't, because no one finds cancer funny. No one disregards cancer. But they do mental health. I don't get it. I don't get it, because it's entirely the same. It's an illness that can be treated or it can kill you. So why the hell would you treat it any differently from that illness? That's the question you need to ask, and we need to challenge stigma. We cannot let it happen anymore. As I said, 70 years ago, people were being locked up for their mental health. We've come a long way in 70 years. We've still got a long way to go. I want everyone who suffers from mental illness to have the same opportunities as everyone that doesn't. I want the conversation of how's your mental health to be a regular conversation that people without mental health issues have with people with mental health issues. I don't see why we wouldn't. When someone's got a migraine, I ask them, how's your migraine? I've never had a migraine in my life. Wouldn't even know what one is. Genuinely lucky enough that I've never, ever had a migraine. I will still ask that person how their migraine is. No one's ever asked me, Darren, how's your depression doing? Is that all right? Yeah. You thought killing yourself recently? Ask me. Genuinely ask me, have you had suicidal thoughts recently, Darren? Yeah, probably have. because I have them regularly. I live with them. It's part of my disorder. But no one talks about it. No one asks. And that is the stigma that we are facing at the moment. That's where we're at this point. We need to normalize it. Suicide used to be such a dirty word, didn't it? And it's not anymore in the same way. I find it's not anyway, maybe because I say it all the time. But no, you can talk about suicide quite openly now because so many people are killing themselves. Let's make it a dirty word again by making sure that no one's killing themselves. That's what we need to do. Commit suicide. Well, no one's done that in years. You know, and the only way we can stop people from doing it is by looking after their mental health and removing the stigma around mental health. Suicide is a pandemic of giant proportions that no one's doing anything about. Not in real terms. We're all wearing masks now from an illness which could or could not kill you. I get that. I'm not going to go anti-vax or anti-mask because I completely agree with it all 100%. What I'm saying is there's another pandemic and we're not talking about it. We're not treating it like a pandemic. Sorry, I got angry. It does. It's just something that it riles me up and it gets me emotional because I just think there should be, when you apply for a job, there should be a mental health conversation, shouldn't there? Should be a form on there. Do you suffer from mental illness? You know that disability form? Do you have a disability? There should be one underneath that says, do you have a mental illness? So we can make adjustments for you. Not so we could not hire you for it. We can make adjustments for you because they would. If I was in a wheelchair, they'd make adjustments for me at work. Just because I have bad thoughts, negative thoughts, no one makes any exceptions. No one changes anything. I mean, I'm lucky. I work in a company that they would. Genuinely, if I needed help, I know I could speak to my bosses and I could get the help I need. But I know there's a lot of people that don't. There is no reasonable adjustments. You know? If you can't do heavy lifting, you're not given heavy lifting to do, are you? But if you can't work at a certain time of day because that's when your medication is at its strongest, you should be allowed to not work at that time of day within reason. Adjustments, reasonable adjustments should be made. Sorry, just back to the comments. Still a long way to go, sure. People don't often ask because they're scared of the reply. That's it, isn't it? Yeah. Because how do you, like, if someone replies, yeah, I want to kill myself. Oh. Next time you ask someone if they're okay and they say, yeah, I want to kill myself, say, this is your response. Okay, should we put the kettle on and talk about it? Don't say, don't do that. They know not to do it. It's not like they went, oh, don't do, oh, silly me. No, don't ever tell someone not to kill themselves because they know that they're not supposed to. What you need to do is say, let's pop the kettle on and have a chat about it. If you haven't got time to pop the kettle on and have a chat about it, ask yourself, if someone dropped down in front of you with a heart attack, would you go, I haven't really got time to deal with this. Got to get to work. You wouldn't, would you? You genuinely wouldn't. If someone went, you call an ambulance straight away. I'm not saying you need to call an ambulance every time someone tells you that they want to kill themselves. You might create things, you might actually make things worse. But what you need to do is give mental health first aid. And the first point of mental health first aid is switching on the kettle and sitting down and having a conversation. Talk, listen, pay attention. That's how you get people out of mental health crisis. That's how you remove stigma. And that is how we solve mental health issues. It's not difficult. Sorry. The more it's talked about, the better. This is it entirely, isn't it? Let's just keep talking and talking. And that's what this community is about. That's what Carl and the community is about, is making sure that there's a safe place of like-minded people who can all talk and communicate. And say I'm having a bad day, and then someone goes, let's talk about it. Or they can go, me too. Cool. And they can have a conversation about it. Or they can't. They don't need to, but they know that there's someone there if they do need to, if they want to. There's that conversation. I'm going to have another sip of this rank thing. Oh, honestly. It's out of date. It's real good. If you're wondering why I'm drinking from a thermos water tea thing, it's because I've given up alcohol for a month. Normally right now I'd have wine in my little sippy mug. Not allowed it for this month. We're now on day 4 though, so only another loads to go. But yeah, so that's why I'm drinking awful flavoured water. Okay, so I think we've pretty much covered all I need to cover. Unless we've got anything else in the comments we want to have a discussion about. This conversation doesn't have to end, and it should never end. Never, ever, ever end. We need to do more. We need to be better. We need to just get out there, and I'm looking forward to this lockdown ending, and everyone can kind of go back out in the world, because there will be a short boost of everyone's mental health. Everyone will just feel a sigh of relief, maybe intrepid sigh of relief, because we all know that we could end up back here again next winter. But I'm looking forward to that moment when everyone kind of, it's a weight off our shoulders, isn't it? It's going to be a relief, but we can actually start sitting down and talking to each other. I won't have to be here like this with you. I can sit next to you in a park and have a picnic. We are having a picnic. We're having a community picnic, but we can sit down and we can talk. We can hug. Physical contact is a big thing. A hug is proven to release endorphins, and it can make you feel better. Serotonin release, etc. Yeah, and that'll make lives easier. That'll make things better. But also just talking and talking and talking. Contact your local MP, with local councillors. Talk to them about what they're doing. What conversations are they having around mental health? Because the medical professional community are talking about it and talking and talking. Unfortunately, they're not inviting people like me or you to talk. They're looking at it from a scientific viewpoint. The government are looking at it from a financial viewpoint. No one's actually looking at it as in, how do we get people to stop killing themselves for their own sake? Not for anyone else's sake, not for society's sake, not for anyone's sake, for the person who is killing themselves' sake. That's who we need to help. Not looking at figures here, we're looking at individuals. Everyone should take up some training on mental health. It can save lives. People can volunteer and listen to those with lived experience. Exactly. Volunteer, speak to people, get that education from lived experience. Do what I'm doing. Signed up to a course. It's free courses in England.co.uk. You can sign up for a free course. They cost 125 quid normally. As long as you participate in the course, you can't fail it. You just have to submit work every couple of weeks. Go through that. At the end, you walk away with a qualification and you haven't paid a penny. You've just spent a bit of time. That's all you have to do. Do you know what I mean? It's easy. We've got time at the moment, haven't we? Abundance of time. So spend it wisely. Don't come out of this lockdown not understanding something a little better. And if what you want to understand better is mental health, then let's start that now. If you want to know how to do it, contact me through the Carl in the community page, through 𝘠𝘮𝘯𝘪11, and we will have that conversation about how you can open up your mind, how you can broaden your horizons when it comes to helping people with mental health, when it comes to reducing the stigma of mental health. That's what we'll do. I will share some free suicide awareness training in the group in the Mo2. Thank you, Faye. Thank you. I really appreciate your contributions. Definitely helpful. There's some really good seminars on YouTube at the moment. I was watching one the other day. Live Loud for Danny shared it, and it was just a seminar talking about the long-term economic and social impacts of the coronavirus on the mental health of young people. Not the catchiest of titles, but it was really good. Genuinely, it was only a couple of hours long, but it really gave an insight. They talked facts and figures, but they also talked emotive language, all about how this pandemic is going to have a long-term effect on the well-being and mental health of our young people, because financially we're going to be paying this back for a long time. Socially, our society is going to emerge from this a very different place to where it was when we went in. So it's going to have an impact. We need to be aware of that. We need to be cautious of that, and we need to look after people through that. Okay, so that is all I've got to say, unless anyone else has got anything that they want to contribute. my final parting message to you is challenge, talk, shout. Challenge everyone on their behavior when it comes to mental health. Talk about your experience and talk about other people's experience, and shout when they're not listening. Just shout as loud as you can until they hear us, until they hear that we're not different, we're not weird, we're not dangerous. We're human beings with more compassion, love, empathy, and pride than most others. Okay, yeah, we're different, but we're better. That's how I'm going to leave that. We are better because of the battles we go through every single day, the fight that is in us, the strength that we have. I'm not weak. Just because I suffer from depression, I am not weak. I'm strong because I suffer from depression. And that's the last time I'm going to get angry tonight on this. It's not angry, it's emotive. Yeah, it's something I feel very passionate about. So other than that, that is smashing the stigma in a nutshell, guys. It's not, I haven't gone on for long, but I thought that's, you know, we've touched on the subject, and we will keep touching it. We'll keep poking the bear until the bear starts fighting us, and then we'll beat the bear. Don't fight bears. I'm sure it's good for me or something. Okay, guys, so what else is going on? So we had a cookery show today. John has emerged back onto our live streams. He's doing a cookery program, Meals in Minutes with JK. Not Jeremy Kyle, no, he's not joined us. Meals in Minutes with JK. It's going to be every Thursday at 2 o'clock. It's going to show you how to make from scratch some very simple recipes that don't take long to do. You don't have to be Gordon Ramsay. You don't have to, you know, have all of the utensils and all of the wizardry. You can just cook some simple foods. I think we're going to challenge him to a bit of a ready, steady cook, maybe. Big old bag of groceries, go make what you can make with it. I reckon that would be quite good if you want to do that. Let's pop that in the group. Give him some ingredients and say, make what you can. So yeah, that's John at 2 o'clock. So today he made focaccia bread and a quiche, which is good because Donna's now cooked a quiche and there's a quiche in my fridge. Keep up good work, John. So tomorrow night we've got the Beat the Intro quiz with our dear friend Angela. She is doing a Blues Brothers themed quiz. So if you're into your Blues Brothers, that's the quiz for you. Saturday night we have coffee time at 7 o'clock. We have got a clash with Saturday Live, so you'll have to pick your viewing. Saturday Live, we're interviewing a firefighter. It would be interesting to hear what they've got to say, you know, what a firefighter's got to say after sort of fighting through COVID. You know, these guys who risked their lives every single day for us before COVID. And now they're in this strange world. So yeah, I'm interested. I will be watching that back after coffee time. Sunday, Greater Than Art, 2 o'clock on Sunday. And then obviously Chloe's taken a bit of a step back for a little while. She's just got some stuff going on. We haven't fallen out. Definitely haven't fallen out. We still love Chloe to pieces and she still loves us. But she's just taken a little bit of time, bit of mental health time, bit of time to digest and process some stuff. So that's totally cool. Which means at 8 o'clock on Sunday night, we're now going to be doing the CLB replay. I'm going to pick something from the archives because we've been doing these since, November now. So we've got like 4 months of CLB episodes. So I'm going to go back through the archives and we'll host a watch party so we can all kind of watch it together and comment on it and stuff. So yeah, and if there's any past episodes of CLB that you guys want to tune into, or want me to replay, then we'll do so. Okay. Then we've got Mondays with Matt, where he's going to start his mental resilience Mondays. Really look forward to that. Apparently I've signed up to it. I don't know what I've signed up to. I don't know how it's going to go, but guessing I'm going to have to put me lycra on with spandex pants. Headband. I don't know. I don't own any of those things. I don't even own trainers. Wear boots all day. And Tuesdays, Heidi's going to be talking about life and stress management, as she does every week. Wednesdays, CLB Mastermind with the Don, and John won last night, so John will be returning. He's all over CLB, isn't he? It's all over it. It's got episodes. Wait a minute. John's got 3 episodes of CLB now. He's on Mastermind. He does his own cookery show, and he's on Coffee Time. He's taken over, isn't he? You make someone an admin and then, on to you, if you're watching. And that brings us then back to next Thursday. John at 2, JK's meals a minute, and me. I'm also going to do some guided meditation stuff. So I'm going to record a guided meditation, probably a body scan meditation, and put that out for you guys if you're interested. Don't know. I'm just going to give it a go. Basically, it's a bit ASMR-y. You whisper into the microphone, but make it relaxing and stuff. So I've been meditating a lot recently. So yeah, I'm keen to do that. Other than that, you might have seen Carlfest is go. CFX, a decade of Carlfest. So this is our 10th year of Carlfest. Last year was a virtual festival. Before that, it's been the biggest live music event in Lowestoft. We have over 30 bands over 4 days, and it is going ahead this year as long as old Boris keeps us out. Lets us play. And so I'm starting to book bands for that. You might have seen the post, but if you're interested, come and give the event a share, give it invite people, accept that you'll go and so stay updated and stuff. But obviously, I'll use the community group to feed some of that through as well. John is here. I'm watching you, John. You're taking over. I'm going to find myself booted off the page soon. So yeah, that's that. And then the Easter extravaganza is coming up. If you do want to donate to the Easter extravaganza, which is part in association with Epilepsy Action, part in association with 𝘚𝘵𝘯𝘪𝘨𝑒𝘍𝑚, then you can do so. All you have to do is go to that website that's on your screen right now. If you do want to make a small donation, we're going to have a big live music event. It's about 10 hours of 9 hours of live music on Easter Sunday, going to be broadcast via the medium of the internet. Yeah, so throw some money in the pot, and then we're going to have the Easter egg hunt in association with Greater Than Art. So yeah, loads going on. That's it. That's all I've got to say to you guys. Keep fighting stigma. Keep shouting. Use your voices. Use them loud. Use them proud. Don't be ashamed. Never be ashamed of who you are. Never be ashamed of your illness. I'm not ashamed of you. I love you. I love every single one of you. And you need to love yourselves and be proud of yourselves for what you go through every single day. On that note, stay safe. Always be kind to each other. And I'll see you all very, very soon. Good night.